Well, hello and welcome to In the Growth Space. My name is David McGlennon and I'm your host. And today's topic is one that is really near and dear to my heart. It's being a lifelong learner. So our topic of being a lifelong learner is something that a lot of high-performing companies create as one of their fundamentals, one of the fundamental behaviors that lead to their success. And we'll get into that in just a moment, what that entails. But what I'd like to first start off with today is just invite you to subscribe to the podcast. We have so many great episodes that are coming up, and we'd love for you to not miss a one. So if you go out and hit subscribe, that would be awesome. And I'd also, while you're there, just invite you to give us a review and a rating. It really helps us to reach more leaders just like you. And so if you do that, I'd so appreciate it. We'd love to be able to reach more leaders with this growth message and the messages that our guests have who come on to the podcast. So when I talk about being a lifelong learner, I often think about having a hunger or a thirst for personal and professional growth. And that gives us the ability to seek out knowledge, seek out growth, and really be our best that we can be and really unlock the potential that's within us. So if you're a professional, let's say you're a lawyer or perhaps you're an accountant, maybe you're an insurance professional, whatever profession that you're in, it's likely that you have a wealth of knowledge. And so your clients come to you for that knowledge and they come to you for guidance in a complex world. And so when you're a lifelong learner, you stay abreast of current themes and current topics. And to do that, you have to constantly challenge yourself. You have to constantly keep learning more and taking in information. Because when you do that, you can serve your clients in a greater way, in a higher way, and in a higher capacity. So how do you do this? How do you cultivate a hunger or a thirst for growth and for lifelong learning? Well, I've got several things that I'm going to offer to you today that I think are fuel and catalysts for lifelong learning. The first is, and this is going to be no surprise to those of you who know me, but books. Reading books are so beneficial to fueling your growth and piquing the curiosity that's in your mind. I read a number of books every year. Amazon, I think, knows my address by heart. But let me just give you a few of my current reads right now. So one is Your Next Move by Patrick Bet-David. And that's really all about mastering business strategy. It's a really, really great book. A younger leader who's sold his business. Just a really great strategy book. The other one that I'm kind of reading at the same time is True North, and it's the Emerging Leader edition. Obviously, for some of you who may be listening and are part of the Emerging Leader Inner Circle or have been part of our Emerging Leader Inner Circle, you know that emerging leader topics are really top of mind for me, and they're really near and dear to my heart too. So this particular book is really centered around being an authentic leader and what does that mean to be an authentic leader. So really, really good read. The next one up on my queue or in my list is a book by Arthur C. Brooks. I read a book by him over the summer that I really liked, and I really liked his style. And so this book is called Build the Life You Want. And Arthur C. Brooks is the author, along with Oprah Winfrey. I've heard Arthur on some podcasts, and I've really enjoyed not only his writing style, but his approach to writing and thinking. Then after that, my next up is called The Coaching Habit. And the author is escaping me at the moment, but we'll put those links in the show notes. But books are just such a great way to capture a lot of different topics and to get insights from a lot of different leaders and a lot of different authors. And the other method to fuel this lifelong learning is through mentors. I've had several who have helped me, and quite frankly, kind of skipping back to books for a second, authors can really be de facto mentors because they're giving you their thinking in their most thought through work of writing pages and pages and pages of their expertise and their thought processes and their knowledge. And so by reading a number of different authors, you can have a number of different mentors just through the books that you read. Now, I also have a mentor who helps me to facilitate groups at a higher level and helps me to grow in that area of facilitating groups. And that whole area is one that I just absolutely love because it's helping groups and leadership groups to unlock their potential and really unlock the wisdom of that particular group. So I also have a business mentor that helps me to grow the business as well. Coaches are another way to cultivate lifelong learning. Now, I've had several. I have several coaches in my life, and it's so important to be coached and to have somebody asking you questions that help you to think and to foster the ability for us to go inward and help us to find answers to solutions or answers to challenges, I should say, solutions to challenges that we're looking for and we're trying to overcome. So coaches is another way to foster lifelong learning. Another one that is high on my list to help me to be a lifelong learner is podcasts. I mean, obviously, I have a podcast here. You're listening to it, but I also listen to so many other podcasts. I mean, when I'm driving, I'm listening to a podcast. When I'm walking or working out, I'm listening to a podcast. It gives me the ability to absorb a lot of different information, a lot of different leaders as well. And quite frankly, there's probably too many to give you all of the podcasts that I listen to. But I will say that I'll give you my top 10, and this isn't like in no particular order, but these are ones that I routinely and regularly listen to. The first one, kind of top of mind, is the Ed Mylett Show. I love Ed Mylett. He's just down to earth. He is he's got great guests, and he's got great insights on leadership, mindset, and coaching. The other one that I really like and listen to quite a lot is the Carey Nieuwhof Leadership Podcast. Now, don't try to spell that name. His last name is really a funky spelling, but Carey Nieuwhof is a former pastor who really specializes in leadership, especially leadership within the church. That being said, his guests are, leaders from all walks of life, and I really, really enjoy his interviewing style, and I also really enjoy his thinking as well. Another one that I listen to is Capability Amplifier, and that's a podcast with Mike Koenigs and Dan Sullivan. They're quite a pair. They've got a lot of business experience and business growth experience, and I really like hearing them bounce off of each other and also interview different business leaders. So another one that I listen to is Achieve Your Goals podcast by Hal Elrod. So I don't know if any of you listening have heard of Hal Elrod, but he wrote the book called The Miracle Morning, and it's really what got me into being more of a morning person. Probably, I guess it's been maybe like 8 years ago, maybe 9 years ago, something like that. But Hal's podcasts are really, really good. He's got a lot of great guests on. Another one is Business Accelerator with Michael and Megan Hyatt. They both are just great podcast hosts, and I love the approach that they take and how practical they are in the things that they talk about from a leadership and business growth perspective. My top 10 wouldn't be complete without my buddy Jeff Hancher, the Champion Forum. So you gotta go check out Jeff Hancher's podcast. He's always got great guests, and he's always got great insights on leadership and growth as well. From a health perspective, I love Huberman Lab. Andrew Huberman is a professor, and I think it's neuropsychology, if I'm not mistaken. But I love the long form content. I usually only get to listen to these on a longer drive or when I have a little bit longer time frame to be able to listen to his podcast. But great health information, great neuroscience information, just a great podcast. High Intensity Health with Mike Mutzel is another one that I listen to from a health perspective. This one, I will warn you, is very there are a lot of technical. There's a lot of technical jargon, and he cites and sometimes even reads a lot of studies, a lot of health studies, so scientific journals and things like that. It stretches me. This is one that when I listen to it, I have to slow it down a little bit because some of the words that he uses I'm not familiar with. And so that stretches me as well. So being a lifelong learner by listening to podcasts that maybe are outside of my own comfort zone a little bit helps me to grow. So just that's a great one. If you're into really high performance health and health studies for sure. One that I just started listening to because it's a fairly new podcast, but I love the podcast host. The podcast host is Erwin McManus. He is the pastor of Mosaic out in Los Angeles. He's also an entrepreneur. He's multifaceted. The name of the podcast is Mind Shift, and he is this podcast is with he and his son Aaron McManus. So great one. They just did an episode with John Gordon. John Gordon is an author of I think 27 books, something like that, and he just has a new book out as well. But I just really like their style. I like the fact that they're really attacking subjects from a really intellectual perspective, but also a spiritual perspective as well. And then probably the last one on my top 10 is, and not last not, but definitely not least, is A Bit of Optimism by Simon Sinek. Those of you who know me, you know I love Simon Sinek, and that particular podcast is a really great one. Usually it's a little bit shorter. It's in the 30 to 40 minute range, and so it's a really really great one to capture new thoughts, new ideas, and definitely a bit of optimism. So beyond books and podcasts and coaches and mentors, the other thing that you can do to cultivate the habit of being a lifelong learner is look for conferences. Look for conferences and growth convenings wherever you can. I recently went to Cleveland to gather with a community of people who are facilitators and coaches and consultants. And it's called the Exchange Summit. And that particular one was just all about designing and facilitating group convenings. And so the conferences are a great way to come together with other like-minded people that will help spur you on and give you new thoughts or new thinking around a subject like leadership or like facilitating groups or coaching, whatever the subject is. I would be remiss if I didn't offer to you to come to our Inner Circle Summit that is happening November 30th of 2023. As I'm recording this, it's just about a month away. And so I would love to have you come to that conference. It's really going to be less of a conference where we have speakers, giving you great information this year, but we're going to be facilitating and choreographing conversations. So a lot of the things that I learned while I was at the summit up in Cleveland with the exchange community, we're going to be implementing at the Inner Circle Summit this year. And so I'm really excited to experiment, to try some new things. We're in a new location this year. It's a place just north of Cranberry Township, just a little bit. And it's a place, it's a YMCA camp called Camp Conaquee. They've got a great, we're actually going to be meeting in their dining hall. They've got an amazing fireplace that's, circular around and, great drop down screens. And so just a great setting. So I'm really excited about that. We will drop the link in to register for that. If you're curious about what that's all about, you can just go to davidmcglennon.com/Inner Circle Summit 2023. We'll drop the link in the show notes as well. But that particular gathering is going to be a great gathering of people from the Inner Circle groups, as well as other leaders who have either reached out to us, the leadership team, or who we've invited to come as well. So another way that you can foster your own lifelong learning is through mastermind groups, or we call them inner circle groups. I'm in a mastermind group, plus I facilitate 3 of the inner circle groups, and it's such a great way. Even if you're just a member of a group, when you're in a group setting like this, there's a phenomenon that happens that is really hard to explain. In Napoleon Hill's book called Think and Grow Rich, he calls it the third mind. And the only way that I can describe it is that when you're in a setting where everyone is really putting their energy towards helping other people, it provides you a way to have thoughts come to you like you've never had before. You may not even be in the hot seat, so to speak. You may not even be having one of your challenges processed, but by virtue of the conversation and some of the other questions that the mastermind members are asking, or advice that's being given, you get information, you get a thought that just pops into your mind. And when it does, it's amazing, and it's really, I wouldn't use the word miraculous, but I mean kind of miraculous too, because those thoughts don't just appear. There's really an energetic component to masterminds, and so I would invite you to be a part of a mastermind. Not only am I in one, but I facilitate 3 of them. And if you're interested in finding one for yourself, reach out to me. I'll be happy to see, if you're a right fit for one of our inner circle groups. It's really a great environment. The last place that I'll just share is just in community. Wherever you have a gathering of people who have a common interest, like-minded leaders, it just gives you the ability to have conversations with other leaders, other people who maybe at a different point in their journey have a different perspective, but they're really a great way to be able to meet others that will help you to continue to foster your own lifelong learning. For me, I'm a part of a number of different communities. One in particular is the Empowered Living community. Many of you know Paul Martinelli, who is one of my mentors and has been a coach of mine as well. So I'm in, a part of the Empowered Living community. I'm a part of, obviously, the Maxwell Leadership. I'm a John Maxwell certified coach, speaker, and trainer. And I also mentioned Exchange, the Exchange community, such a great community. So if you're looking for a community, I'd invite you to consider, any of these that I just mentioned, but also reach out to me because perhaps being a part of the, one of our inner circle groups would give you the community connection that you're looking for. And I know that it's one of those areas that we're working on developing even more so within our inner circle groups and across our inner circle groups. So I'd love to have you be a part of that if that's of interest to you. So those are I think if I counted right, the 7 different ways in which you can continue to be a lifelong learner. And I want to encourage you to adopt this behavior as one of yours. So if you're listening to In the Growth Space, being a lifelong learner means you're being exposed to other people, other ideas, other opinions, other viewpoints, and other ideas that just help you to be stretched and help you to grow and gain insights that you ordinarily wouldn't get if you're not involved in some of these things like a mentorship or reading or podcasts or conferences or masterminds and communities. So I just want to encourage you to stay in your growth space by being a lifelong learner. And when you become a lifelong learner and you are a lifelong learner, it's amazing what opens up for you and it's amazing what insights you gain. And honestly, the curiosity gets piqued and you foster that curiosity within yourself that helps you. It's kind of like a self-fulfilling, I don't want to say self-fulfilling prophecy, but it's like a flywheel effect. As you continue to learn and to grow, you hunger more, and it's a self-fulfilling or self-propelling function. So I hope this has been insightful for you, and I hope that today's episode on being a lifelong learner has encouraged you. And also, I hope it's inspired you to maybe, try something new. If you're not a podcast listener, go out and find one of the podcasts that I mentioned. If you're not a reader, go find a book that you can read. There's a ton of books that I can share with you. I will drop a link in the show notes to a book list. It's a little bit older book list. I think I did it for our emerging leader group about 3 or 4 years ago, but it's a great group of books that I think are foundational for leaders, especially emerging leaders, to draw from. And so take a look at that list, but just maybe read one book and get yourself your toe in the pool, so to speak. So I hope this has been helpful for you today. Continue to stay in your growth space by being a lifelong learner. And please let me know what you took away from this particular episode, and let me know what did I miss? I'm sure are things that I missed in terms of ways that we can be a lifelong learner. So I'd love to hear your viewpoints as well. Send me a note, david@davidmcglennon.com, and love to hear from you and hear your thoughts. And maybe even if you're watching this on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, put a comment in the comments below. And if you're not a subscriber there, hit that subscribe button as well. Appreciate your support. Well, thank you, my friends, for joining me here for another episode of In the Growth Space. Until next time, be well and stay in that growth space.